Okay, just got to the Atlantis here in the Bahamas. Playing a $25,000 tournament tomorrow. A $25,000 tournament. Here we are at the Atlantis here in the Bahamas. As mentioned, $25,000 buy-in tournament. Poker Stars Players Championship, no limit Texas Hold'em, $25,000 buy-in. You might say I'm a little bit excited about this. You could say I'm a little bit excited about this one. Some combination of excitement, nerves. Yeah, this is going to be a massive one. We're probably going to be looking at somewhere around 1,000 entries for this. They already got over 600. Registration is going to be going on all day today. We're going to be looking at life-changing money for these these top prizes. Mincash is going to be $25,000 in this event. I think the first 20 people in this event are going to get paid $25,000, and then from there maybe more standard Mincash up to 31 or 32K. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. This is day one. We're going to be starting today with 300 big blinds, 60,000 in chips, and blinds starting at 100 and 200, I think. How did we end up here? Just a refresher, we were granted a pass for spreading some of this vlogger love. Jeff Gross and myself, we ran a little competition, the Vlogger in Paradise competition. We tasked everybody with a little challenge, create one vlog a week for 5 weeks. Narrowed it down to 5 finalists. We got 200 entrants from all over the world. Narrowed that down to 5 finalists, and then we ended up with 2 winners in that competition, Oliver Biles and Matt Kiefer. You guys are gonna wanna check out their channels. I will link them down in the description. We will also be updating those guys' tournament runs. I'm gonna check in with those guys throughout the day and throughout the week, see how their tournament run is doing, because this is by far the biggest tournament that either of those guys have played as well. We'll also check in on my giveaway co-host, Jeff Gross. Lots of familiar faces around here, and it's gonna be a really interesting mix to see. We're gonna see what kind of a table draw we end up with here. There's gonna be some Platinum Pass winners at our table. There's very likely to be some sort of super high roller crusher or 2 or 3 at my table as well. We're gonna be getting underway here in about half an hour, but just kind of chilling for now, taking in the sights and scenery, and then we're gonna be off and running. We're gonna be in there, we're gonna be in the mix. All right guys, break number 1 here at the Poker Players Championship thing. First level is 100, 200 with a 200 big blind ante. And we had a really interesting hand, pretty tough spot. There was an under the gun raise to 500, and it folds all the way around to me in the big blind looking down at pocket aces. I go ahead and 3-bet it to 1,700. I wouldn't always 3-bet there, but since we're so deep, I feel like 3-bet is fine. So I make it 1,700 to go, and the under the gun player 4-bets. Puts in a 4-bet to 5,400, and loving it so far. I just decided to flat call here because I'm basically turning my hand face up, super face up, if I put in a 5-bet pre-flop from under the gun versus the big blind. It's already pretty small, pretty narrow ranges. When the under the gun opens, pretty small range there. When the big blind 3-bets an under the gun opener, pretty small range. And now the under the gun is putting in a 4-bet, so super narrow range already. And if I go ahead and 5-bet, only one hand. So I go ahead and flat here, and we're off to a flop which comes King, Queen, 6, I think, with 2 clubs and 1 heart. Pretty not ideal flop at all. As mentioned, I don't think he's gonna have too many hands here. Pocket kings, pocket queens, definitely within that range. The other two aces, maybe ace king. So I check and he makes a c-bet of, I believe, 3,300. I make a pretty standard call here, and we're off to a turn card, which doesn't change too much, brings it back to a flush draw. I check and he puts out another bet. This time he sizes it up to 9,000. Really not loving the situation, but can't do anything in this spot other than go ahead and make the call again. River is the 5 of hearts, so it completes backdoor flush draw, and I go ahead and check it. Really looking for a check back here, hoping to just take these aces to showdown at this point, but unfortunately my opponent bets third time here. This time he bets 16,000 on the river. Now it is a miserable spot. Very not ideal whatsoever. I think the play here normally is to just check jam it all in here. We do have the nut flush blocker, but the problem is that my opponent is very unknown. I don't know who this person is. I don't know how he would react, say if he does happen to have like top set here. Is he gonna fold it? Is he gonna find the fold? The other problem is we're playing a $25,000 tournament, and do I have it in me to just check jam all my chips in level 1, turning aces into a bluff? Calling doesn't feel great either, because like I said, the ranges are going to be so narrow here. What hands is he going to 4-bet under the gun versus big blind? So we chop with aces. We can beat ace king, but we double block that hand. And is he really going to be betting all 3 streets? I kind of doubt it. I feel like he might check back the river with ace king here. Not expecting to be able to get too much value from anything possibly here. Would I do this with king jack? I would never call the river with king jack here. That leaves pocket kings and maybe pocket queens. He could maybe have some sort of crazy bluff like ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, maybe in clubs, since I don't think I have the ace of clubs in my hand. So really fairly miserable little spot. I said out loud that I think he has top set there, and trying to get a read. I don't get a read, and I just decided to let it go. I fold the pocket aces. Really don't know if it's a good fold or bad fold, but I do have Max Silver on my direct right. A little bit later on, he said that he agreed with my read, and the player on his right, who I think Max knows must be a good player, he also agreed with that read. So unfortunately, we don't get the information. We don't know if we get a good fold or bad fold, and even worse news is that we lose a bunch of chips in that hand. So I think we lose somewhere around 1/3 of our starting stack with those pocket aces. That's really the only interesting hand that happens in the first 2 levels. Going to level 3 now, so let's get aces again maybe, and win with them. All right guys, it is now break number 2. We have played 4 levels, and last level went a little bit better than previous levels, but no major incidents to report. We did chip up a little bit. We managed to chip up back to about 54,000 in chips. That is good news, especially considering previous trends. But yeah, we just played a lot of small to medium sized pots, and nothing, certainly no major situations. I did 3-bet ace king in one hand, ended up making top pair, but got no value post flop. Just a couple other small hands here and there. Made some bets, some folds, some calls, and yeah, just chipped it up a little bit. We did have one player leave the table who got swapped out to move to another table, and in his stead we got Emil Whiteline Patel. So I didn't know who the other player was. Probably a downgrade as far as strength of our table goes. There's not gonna be too many tables where you're gonna be able to avoid all these super high roller wizards. Just gotta try and navigate, really, and that's what I'm trying to do, trying to battle. Just playing my hands, playing those cards. Everyone's playing out of the same deck of cards, and everyone gets 2 of them, trying to play the best I can. So back to battle here. All right guys, currently on the 3rd and what I think might be the last break of the day, because we're playing 2 hours, 2 levels each time, and then we go on a break. And then I think we only play until 9 p.m. and it's currently 7 p.m. and there's no dinner break. So anyway, interesting hand at this previous little couple of levels. 200, 500 level. Look down at 8, 9 of diamonds for middle position and I make it 1200. The big blind makes the call. So heads up to a flop of Jack 10, 4 with 2 diamonds. So open ender and flush draw. He checks, I bet 1600 and he calls. Turn doesn't change anything but adds a second flush draw on board, and this time he leads out for 3000. I think you can easily make a case for raising here, but I think it would be a disaster if I raise and then he re-raises big. And if we're forced to fold our equity there, that would be pretty god-awful. So I just decided to flat here. The river looks pretty favorable for our hand. Comes an offsuit queen. So we end up with a pretty disguised straight here. And my opponent keeps betting. He bets 4200 on the river. Definitely want to raise it up for value here, so I make it 10,400, I think. He goes into the tank for a decent while before deciding on a call. So, good news. We flip it over and my opponent shows pocket fours. So, yeah, great news. We mow down the set there and we stack up about 69,000 in chips after that hand. Shortly after that, in the 300, 600 level, there's an early position raise to 1500 and I look down at pocket 8s in the small blind and make the call. We go heads up to a flop in which we flop ourselves an overpair on 7, 4 deuce, 2 spades and 1 heart. I check it and my opponent checks back. Turn is the 3 of hearts, which I believe once again adds a backdoor flush draw. This time I lead out for 2000 and my opponent calls. River looks pretty safe. It's an offsuit 10, so I go for some thin value with a bet of 3300. My opponent snap calls and kind of worried here, so I flip over my cards and sure enough he shows pocket aces. So a very conservative line by him. I feel like even if we check it, he's gonna bet some amount and could very well be over 3,300. In fact, I'm pretty sure it would be. So I don't know, maybe we end up with some sort of a blocker bet there on the river, but I was actually going for value. Maybe too thin value, but pocket 6s, I think we can get a call from pocket 6s, smaller pairs, but not this time. So we lose that one and we're down to about 57,000 and not too much happened beyond that except for a hand where it folds around to the hijack who opens it up for 1500. I looked down at 5-4 suited and put in a 3-bet bluff to 4,000. It's definitely on the cusp, but I think it's perfectly fine. My opponent is definitely not a nit in this hand, so unfortunately this does not get through. My opponent makes the call and we do not improve post flop. I do put it on c-bet since we have 3 to a straight and 3 to a flush, but unfortunately my opponent calls and we don't improve on the turn, check it back. We do improve to pair 4s, but it completes the flush draw and it makes a small bet and I just let it go. So, the level started out fantastic, but a couple of hands immediately after that didn't go our way. So back down to 48,000 in chips, maybe a little bit less, maybe 47, 46,000 now after going through the blinds. So last couple levels coming up. We'll see if we can find some run good. Come on, let's go. Let's find some run good, you guys. Let's take it into day 2. Alright guys, day 1 is a wrap and we survived. There will be a day 2 for us. Not taking a ton of chips. Managed to bag up 41,500. Blinds will be going to 600 and 1,200. That means we'll be taking 34.5 big blinds into the start of day 2 tomorrow. So I guess I'm happy with it. I don't think I butchered any one particular hand or anything. Kind of made the best of what I was given, and what I was given wasn't really too much. I feel like I went through some decent stretches there where I didn't have a lot to work with and had aces a couple times. One of them, I would say I'm 99% sure that those aces got cracked by pocket kings. That big hand from the very start of the day, my opponent basically admitted that he had pocket kings. So I guess we could have 5-bet pre-flop and maybe took it down right there, but went for the maximum, tried to keep my range wide, keep his range wide, and I don't know. Could have been worse, I guess. We could have lost more. All right, that's neither here nor there anymore. We're moving on. There will be a day 2 tomorrow, and I think that starts at noon. So I'm just gonna go chill tonight, take it easy, maybe get some room service in the hotel room. Back at it then. The sadness that is the wrap for Matt Kiefer, Platinum Pass winner, vlogger in paradise. You're still a vlogger, you're still in paradise.
Yeah, that's the good news. My wife appreciates it. I help out the family and the kids, and get to hang out with Neeme. He hasn't left me in it yet. And Jeff Gross and Oliver. I mean, I haven't gone anywhere like to Vegas since 10 years ago. I've been in my own little spot in Indianapolis, so coming here and seeing just all these faces is awesome. We saw Tony Hawk on the walk over here.
I saw him in there too.
Yeah, like, I mean, everywhere we turn, there's somebody. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else really I want to meet, but I am bummed, you know, not to quit my day job and everything when I go back. I already told my boss I'll be there. So I was walking by all these yachts, and it was kind of disappointing seeing like this 80-inch TV and they're streaming it, and I'm like, I don't even want to look at that. Like, but it's a blast. Well, yeah, it's awesome.
I'm glad you're here.
It's surreal.
I'm glad you're still making videos.
Yep. Sweet.
Oliver Biles.
We made it.
We're still alive.
We made it, didn't we? Fantastic.
Chips.
I've got about 53,000. How you doing? How much
I got 41,000.
41,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a little bit of work to do.
We got a little bit of work, but chip in a chair.
We're alive and well.
Yes. On to day 2. On to day 2.
So half of I was saying half of Team Vlogger in Paradise is still alive. We lost Matt and we lost Jeff.
We lost Jeff.
We lost Jeff.
Oh no.
Aces versus Kings, and
he had aces.
Yeah, aces.
Oh. All in pre?
I think so.
Oh.
I'm not sure, but yeah, he's gone.
Jeff. All right, we're the only hopes.
It's all up to us.
We'll ride the wave for Vlogger in Paradise. We're gonna do it. Take it.
First break of the day, and that first level started out pretty choppy. Not a lot of playable hands, and then a couple playable hands that didn't go my way. I raised pocket sixes and got jammed on, so I just folded that. And then a little bit later on, I open up ace jack on the button for 2,500. The small blind calls and the big blind folds. The flop comes queen 7-5, I believe. The small blind just leads right out. And it's Platinum Pass winner. You can look up this information on the table draws. You can see who won a Platinum Pass and who's a reg and all that stuff. Anyway, I just decided to let it go and play conservative because I don't have a lot of chips to work with. A little bit later on, I open up King Queen off suit, and the big blind defends. The flop comes jack high, and he check calls a C bet. I down bet the flop a little bit, and he makes the call. Turn is the king of spades, which brings it back to a flush draw. Top pair for us. He checks. I size it up to, I believe, 6,200 or so. And again, he makes the call. River plus 3 to a straight out there. The flush misses, but the board's pretty connected, and I'm not sure if I can get another street of value versus a weaker pair. Certainly if he has a king, I can go for value, but versus a smaller pair, I'm not sure I can get too much value. So if she checks it over to me, I just decided to check it back and play a little conservative, and he shows us a jack 8, I believe, for top pair. So again, not sure if you would call a river bet there anyway, and I don't want to get in a tough spot, again, with not too many chips to work with. So that one, we dragged that one in, and then the biggest hand so far, we're up to about 50K or so, maybe 48K. Folds around to Chris Moorman in the cutoff, who puts in a standard raise to 3,500 at 1,600 big blind. Look down at pocket queens. Best hand we've seen all day so far, by far. And I put in a 3-bet. I decided to not jam, but I put in a 3-bet of 10,300. Folds back to Chris, and he thinks for a little bit before jamming all in himself. So we go ahead and make the call here, and we are up against his pocket 8s. So we're in great shape to double up, and in fact, we do get the double up. Board runs out clean, and we are all of a sudden all the way up to 100,000 in chips across the 6-figure mark. 100,400, I believe, was the peak. I think we might have lost a couple blinds since then. So just under 100K in our stack now. Got moved to a new table. just in front of the stage here, and a couple Platinum Pass winners. I recognize the fellow on my right, who is sort of mid to high stakes grinder in Las Vegas. Don't recognize anyone else. So let's go, let's battle. Let's hope we can keep this train rolling. Okay guys, back at this little update desk, that's what I'm gonna call it here. We're still alive. Roller coaster, last couple of levels. Just a couple of flips here and there, and some action on the roller coaster. First one came when I looked down at Ace King, suited, under the gun, raise it up, button calls, big blind jams all in for somewhere around 50K. I go ahead and rejam, play on the button folds, and we have ourselves a flipping situation against pocket eights. Unfortunately, we cannot improve, so that's some serious damage to the stack. We drop all the way down to about half of what we had before that hand. And shortly after that, we did manage to get it in with pocket queens versus, I think, pocket eights again. I think we got in with queens versus eights twice in this tournament so far. The player only had about 30,000, so we chip up there, get back up to about 80K. From there, I didn't really get too many playable hands. Did a lot of folding. Pretty much didn't defend any hands in my big blind either. So blinds went up, and we had about 73K at the 2.5K big blind. There's a hand where the under the gun player open, and it folds all the way around to us in the big blind. We defend with 8-7 offsuit. It was a very small raise, maybe a min raise or an extra 500 on top of that. I think these are the hands that are good to defend because we can make straights and two pairs and stuff and not worry so much about being dominated, especially versus an under the gun raise. So I defend it, and we flop ourselves an open ender on a 2 flush board. I check call a pretty big bet on the flop there. Didn't really want to just check go with it there, as in raising and going with it. 2 spades on the board. I don't know if it's the best situation to just get all my chips in there. So I check call. The turn pair is a 9. Actually goes check check, and the river I believe is an offsuit jack. With 8 high, I try and put a bet in and try and get him off of some sort of high card holding, but it's not going to work because this time he has pocket kings. So we're short now. We are short, and the blinds are going back up. Blinds are 15 and 3,000 now. We got 40,000 to our name. The good news is that we just went through the blinds, so we have a full round before that'll happen again. The bad news is we need to find a hand ASAP with our 13 big blinds. Hopefully something good will happen very soon. One of those as you can see moments, and I think you guys know what's coming. As you can see, I am no longer in the tournament room. I am standing outside by this pond thing where there's a bunch of fish, because I'm one of them. Nah, not really. I mean, maybe I am. Maybe I'm a tournament fish, but holy crap, look at the size of that. That's like a giant ray over there or something. Anyway, ran out of steam pretty much. No real good situations for the most part. There was another shorty on the table who jammed from under the gun, somewhere around 15 big blinds. I looked down at King Jack suited on the button. I have like 9 big blinds, so I just go ahead and reshove, and the blinds fold. Turns out we're in pretty good shape. We're up against King 10 suited. So off to the flop we go, in which we flop the nut flush. So that's good. He's drawing dead to a chop of a straight flush on the board, which does not come. And we had some chips, not too much to speak of after that. Shortly after that, I'd gone through the blinds a couple times, and then was down to, once again, my last, want to say, 10 big blinds or so. And look at ace 10 suited. From under the gun, we ship it in, and the small blind makes the call with pocket jacks. Pretty straightforward story. From there, we cannot improve, and the small blind is going to collect our last 10 big blinds. I'm happy where those last 10 big blinds went. It's a nice woman named Jackie who is a dental hygienist who lives in Oregon and is a Platinum Pass winner, is a subscriber of this channel. And so shout out to Jackie, job well done. She's got a bunch of chips. So here's hoping she does really well the rest of the tournament, because it'd be awesome to see her. It'd be awesome to see her do great. She was a lot of fun to have on the table. As for us, sad ending to this event, no cash. You know, for sure it's a little bit sad. It's a missed opportunity. Even though we got a pass into this event, still want to capitalize on those opportunities. And it's not like we haven't worked hard for this sort of opportunity with all these videos and the channel and all the poker and editing and everything that comes along with it. But no love this time. Carry on, onward, on to the next one. But definitely gonna take some time to, you know, soak it in here for a little while. And, you know, just kind of recognize the moment. We got to play in a $25,000 tournament, 2.5 times my previous biggest buy-in event, and got to play with some absolute world beaters. Had Scott Seaver on my original table and a host of other people that, you know, it was definitely a learning experience along the way. Pushed us out of our comfort zone in a few different situations. And anytime that happens, that's growth. That's what growth feels like. All right, guys, more to come. This is the only the start of things to come for this vlog, for the poker, further growth, more droning, more destinations. All right, thanks for following along as always.